Hi guys, Warren Wu here, and welcome to Leetcode Animated. Today we're going to be solving Leetcode question 217, contains a duplicate. This is going to be an easy rated question. So here's the problem statement. Given an integer array nums, return true if any value appears at least twice in the array, and return false if every element is distinct. Now I'm going to run through a couple examples to help us better understand this question. And in this first example, we're given an array of 1, 2, 3, 1. And the output is true. The reason it's true is because we do have a duplicate number here, which is the 1. In the next example, we're given an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course the output is going to be false because there is no duplicate in that array. Okay, so now that we understand the question, I'm going to go over the solution, and for this solution we're going to be using a hash map to solve this question. The reason we're using a hash map here is because hash maps are really great at checking whether or not duplicate values exist in any question. So anytime you have a question asking you to check for duplicate values, you should always ask yourself whether or not a hash map is going to be a suitable data structure for that question. And in this case it is. So the whole idea of my solution is to just loop through the input array, and for each iteration we'll check whether or not that number is already in our hash map. If it's not, we put it into our hash map and we continue the loop. Once we reach a number that's already in our hash map, we just return true since we know that number has already appeared in our array before. If we reach the end of the array without returning true, we return false because we know there were no duplicates. Now let's see it in action with an example. So given the array before, 1, 2, 3, 1, for the first iteration we're going to check if 1 is already in the hash map. Since it's not, we'll put it into the hash map with some arbitrary value. In this case, we'll just use 1. And then we continue the loop. Next, we're going to check if 2 is already in the hash map, and since it's not, we're going to put it in the hash map and continue the loop. We do the same thing for 3 until finally we get to the duplicate 1, and we check our hash map to see if it's already in there. And because it's already in there, we just return true. If we were to be given an array with no duplicates instead, what would happen is our code would loop to the end of the array and just return false since there were no duplicates, and it's at the end of the array. Okay, so now that we understand how to solve our problem conceptually, it's time to start coding. I'm going to be coding in JavaScript, but the solution we went over before can be applied in any language. So the first thing I'm going to do, I didn't really mention this in the solution part, but I'm going to be checking whether or not the input array's length is less than or equal to 1. And if it is, we're going to return true. And the reasoning behind that is because if we're given an array that has a length of 1 or lower, that means it can only contain 1 number or 0 numbers, which means it's impossible to have a duplicate. So we know there's no duplicates and we just return true. Next, I'm going to define my hash map and set up a for loop that iterates the entire nums array. And now I'm just going to set up a conditional statement to check if the current number in the array is not defined in the hash map, or is not undefined in the hash map. This is the same as checking if the number is already in the hash map. If it is, we return true, and if it's not, we put it into the hash map and just set it to 1. Once we reach the end of our loop, we just return false. The time complexity of this algorithm is O of n because we're iterating the array once for every element, and the space complexity is also O of n because we're storing the array elements into our hash map. Okay, that's the end of the video. So if you liked what you just saw, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching.